saying good morning to Maria Arvanites, who's all the way from Toronto, bringing over 20 years of progressive experience with talent acquisition. She has developed a deep knowledge of talent acquisition programs and vendor strategies, and has seen the evolution of contingent and direct hiring models. She's a VP for Sales and Delivery at Robertson Resourcing Company. Maria, you bring a unique perspective to this discussion, being client-facing and leading internal delivery for various models throughout the world. You've worked globally, so now what? Over to you.
Yeah, we can't go back, that's for sure. This is definitely, COVID has definitely been a bit of a Kaizen breakthrough where we actually can't go back. We've seen the evolution now of different emerging market needs as well as our first world issues. And together we've actually understood that workforce strategies is actually a global problem. But big engines, big organizations, they're very hard to move and they're extremely process oriented. And frankly, there's no bigger process oriented function within an organization besides finance and accounting than HR. So really, where do we go from here? So I see a couple of things on the horizon, to be honest with you, where we've recognized as large organizations that they can't pivot the way a smaller entrepreneurial company can to take advantage of different global gig platforms where they can actually access talent as they need. And so what I see actually really coming into the fold is outsourcing talent acquisition strategies to organizations that are a lot more nimble, faster to market, but still do as the end client wishes. So in North America, outsourcing large-scale talent strategy happens in two ways, one of two ways traditionally. You either outsource to an MSP, a managed service provider, to manage temporary staffing agencies, or you outsource to a permanent, you outsource all of your permanent hire to an RPO. And so MSP, temporary workforce, permanent hire is RPO. Now, you may think, like, what's this have to do with anything? But the beauty of these programs is to really address the needs of the client. The client is always in the driver's seat. So we've now just heard that recruitment's been flipped on its head. And we don't find talent the way we used to. We don't engage in the same way. They don't want to work the same way. So the relationships in larger scale solutions, larger scale strategies and outsourcing is really beneficial. A larger organization now has the option to go to their outsourced talent strategist and say, okay, we need to open this up. Where we weren't open to engaging developers in India, we now are. Manage that entire vendor vetting process for us, please. We have diversity, inclusion goals and metrics. Here they are. Make sure that they're met, please. We have supplier diversity goals. We want to reach $2 billion in minority supplier spend. Source out diversity suppliers. And by the way, they probably have never worked with an organization this big. Hold their hand and walk them through the process of doing business with us. Now we're open to remote workforce as well. Let's open up the geographies. So the beauty in this for many companies is that they have not adopted third-party strategies, is that you can actually join the race from the midpoint. You don't have to go back to where North Americans were 10 years ago. You can actually start it in the middle. So you can include what your social and corporate responsibility goals are, your diversity and inclusion goals are, your supplier goals are, etc. So that I feel is mission critical going forward. To be honest with you, I feel like the most gains that are ever going to be made are in the total talent acquisition space, where you do have one total talent acquisition manager, and they are responsible for taking a look at all of your third party work. So your SOW, time and material spend, your gig portals, your digital platforms where you're actually engaging contractors, your contractor workforce providers, your permanent hire providers. If you can actually envision that somebody has a holistic view of this and provides you with reporting and metrics to actually take a look at where you're finding talent and where your talent gaps are. I mean, that's just mind-blowing. The information that you can generate from having one lens and one report on all of this can be really strategic and beneficial for organizations. It's not to say that smaller companies can't take advantage of a similar platform. Generally speaking, I feel that they're a little bit more entrepreneurial, a little bit easier to pivot. I feel like where they tend to benefit within this type of economy and environment is that they'll be more readily accessing gig portals and digital platforms where they can engage people on task-based work. So those are the areas that I feel are really going to be driving us forward and meeting the expectations that we have in talent acquisition and strategy.